Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Could you state your name for the record and spell your last name?
My name is Steve Coleman, C-O-L-E-M-A-N.
Would counsel for the witness please proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Coleman.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Coleman, what materials are you sponsoring in this proceeding this afternoon?
I'm sponsoring Chapter 7, Exhibit 7, Corporate Real Estate, Chapter 7, Exhibit 7, Work Papers, Chapter 3, Exhibit 10, Transformation Supply Chain for corporate real estate and fleet. I'm sponsoring Exhibit 16, Errata, Exhibit 17, my Statement of Qualifications, and Chapter 57, Exhibit 18, Rebuttal.
Thank you. Does that complete your response?
That does.
And the errata in Exhibit 16 that you're sponsoring relates to PG&E Exhibit 7, Chapter 7. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, were the work papers, the errata, your statement of qualifications, and your rebuttal regarding corporate real estate prepared by you or under your direction and control?
All were prepared by me or under my direction and control, except for the original corporate real estate testimony.
Now, as to that, Chapter 7 of Exhibit 7, I believe corporate real estate, that was prepared by another individual at the company?
Yes, it was.
And why are you sponsoring that chapter?
Two reasons. One, that individual left the company, and I had a change in responsibility.
And are you familiar with that chapter?
Yes, I am.
All right. Regarding Chapter 3 of Exhibit 10, the transformation chapter, that chapter was originally sponsored by another individual, correct?
That is correct.
And why are you sponsoring that chapter?
Two reasons. That individual left the company, and I was involved in the original creation of that testimony.
All right. So you are familiar with and adopt today as your sworn testimony all of these exhibits?
I do.
Thank you. Your Honor, Mr. Coleman is tendered for cross-examination.
Thank you. All of the exhibits just identified have been previously marked and identified with two exceptions. The first is Exhibit PG&E-10 regarding the Business Transformation Program, which I hereby identify and mark as Exhibit PG&E-10. The second exception is the work papers to Chapter 7 of Exhibit PG&E-7, which I hereby mark and identify as Exhibit PG&E-7-WP07. I understand that DRA will have two counsels cross-examining the witness. Would the first counsel like to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Coleman. My name is Greg Hayden. I'm one of the attorneys for DRA on this case. Just have a few questions. I'd like to refer you to page 57-13 of your rebuttal testimony, Exhibit PG&E-18.
(57-13).
That's right.
Okay.
At the top of page 57-13, line 1, you state, compliance with ADA is not voluntary, it is mandatory. Correct?
Correct.
Is PG&E currently in compliance with ADA?
Your Honor, I'd object to that as a legal conclusion. Mr. Coleman is not being sponsored as an attorney in this proceeding.
I will allow the witness to answer to the best of his ability with the understanding that he is not providing a legal opinion.
Okay. PG&E, we always try to stay within the law when it comes to areas like ADA compliance. What we have found over the past couple of years of doing a new analysis of our workplaces and of our offices is that additional work needs to be done to make sure that we're in compliance.
To be sure that you're in compliance with the ADA, is it mandatory, is it your understanding that it's mandatory that all of the proposed ADA work that you discussed in your rebuttal be completed by 2010 and not extended to 2014 as recommended by DRA?
Your Honor, just for the record, I will not burden the record, but I will have a continuing objection to the extent that these are calling for legal conclusions as opposed to the witness's own understanding.
That's fine. Does the witness have the question in mind?
Yes. So our understanding in the work that we have done with a nationally known ADA consultant firm is that in order to make sure that we stay in compliance with ADA, that we need to complete the projects as listed in the testimony within that time period.
I thank you. Moving down to line 18, you state the company is subject to claims and litigation from employees and customers if it is not in compliance. You see where I'm referring?
Yes, I do.
Do you know how many ADA lawsuits PG&E has had?
I do not know that.
Do you know if PG&E has had any ADA lawsuits?
I am not aware of that. I do not know that.
Do you know if PG&E has ever been cited for an ADA violation?
I believe that there have been complaints regarding ADA compliance made by citizens
Who are those complaints to?
To PG&E.
Okay.
But as far as you know, or you don't know whether or not a governmental agency has formally cited PG&E for a violation of the ADA?
That is correct. I'm not aware of that occurring.
Thank you.
Could you turn to page 57-15 of your rebuttal?
Yes.
You see, beginning with line 14, you discuss the green building initiative.
Yes.
And answer 51, which begins at line 15, you state at line 16 that the governor's executive order S20-04, paragraph 10, encourages commercial building owners to take aggressive action to reduce electricity usage by 20% by retrofitting buildings and operating energy and resource. Now, does the initiative require that this be done by 2010?
No, it encourages that this work gets done.
Does the initiative require anything?
It's not my understanding is that the governor's executive order does not require mandatory compliance.
Okay, I'd like to refer to the next page 57-16. You continued your discussion of this initiative. At lines 9 through 10, you state that from 2000 through 2005, the company has spent $6.7 million on projects related to reducing its environmental footprint. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Where does this $6.7 million come from? Is it in your testimony, the specific number?
This $6.7 million are dollars spent in the past, and so would not be in the testimony.
So this $6.7 million wasn't specifically identified before the rebuttal testimony, is that correct?
Your Honor, can I interpose an objection here? I find the question ambiguous. Could counsel restate that question?
I think the question's pretty clear. It's just the first time the $6 million has appeared in the witness's testimony. It's the rebuttal testimony the first time this figure has appeared.
I believe it is the first time.
So from 2000 to 2005, which is approximately a 6-year period, the company spent approximately $1.1 million on projects related to reducing environmental impact. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how much does PG&E propose to spend in 2007? Is it, or you can answer that.
The forecast in 2007 is it's in line 15 and 16. 7.686 million and 1.074 million.
And so that's approximately 6 times higher than the company spent yearly from 2000 to 2005, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I'd like to refer you to page 57-10 of your rebuttal.
Okay.
At lines 9 through 12, you discuss the seismic safety. You say by having this program in place, PG&E has been able to effectively manage the company's earthquake risks and comply with the intent of the California Earthquake Hazards Reduction Act. Do you see where I'm referring?
Yes.
Now, if PG&E extends the time frame to complete seismic work until 2014 as recommended by DRA, would this lead to PG&E violating this act?
Your Honor, same objection regarding this witness's qualifications as to a violation of a law.
I understand the witness is not a lawyer, but the witness may answer the question nevertheless with the understanding that PG&E is not providing a legal opinion through this answer.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. If PG&E extends the time frame to complete the seismic work discussed here until 2014, as recommended by DRA, is it your understanding that that would lead to PG&E violating this Earthquake Hazards Reduction Act?
I don't believe that it would lead to that, but by pushing this work out further, it would lead to having more risk that our facilities are not in seismic readiness in case of an earthquake.
I have no further questions, Mr. Coleman, but my co-counsel, Ms. Tedesco, has some questions.
Thank you.
Please proceed, Ms. Tedesco.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Coleman. My name's Laura Tedesco. I'm one of the other attorneys representing DRA in this case.
Good afternoon.
If you turn to your rebuttal at page 57-18, you start a discussion of the Gilroy Service Center PG&E is requesting.
Yes.
I found one page in your work papers relating to that at, let me see, page 7-53 and going to 7-54. Is there any other documentation supporting this request in the application?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Now, in the answer on to 64 on page 57-18 of the rebuttal, you have the statement that the company's ability to efficiently provide gas and electric service to Gilroy and surrounding areas from its existing San Jose service centers is becoming increasingly difficult. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is PG&E currently providing safe and reliable service to its customers in and around Gilroy?
Yes, we are.
If you go to the answer or question 66, the question to you is, why didn't the company fund the Gilroy News Service Center in 2006? And the answer you provide is the company is committed to spend only within its adopted levels. Then over at answer 68, you say PG&E's capital expenditure forecast for 2006 is $520,000. Has PG&E spent that $520,000 on the Gilroy Service Center?
No.
When was the Gilroy Service Center project first proposed within PG&E?
I believe that analyses of that area, I'm familiar with analyses of that area being done in 2002, 2003. That is how we typically do portfolio analyses of the needs of service centers and future service center development ongoing.
And since 2002 or 2003 to date, what has PG&E done towards construction of this new Gilroy Service Center?
No activities have been completed, except for the analyses, as I stated.
And that was back in 2002, 2003?
It's been done 2002, 2003, yes.
If you go to page 57-19,
Yes.
answer 71, having to do with replacing standby generators. PG&E is seeking 3.576 to replace how many standby generators?
There are two major standby generators, and I don't know the exact number of smaller ones, but I believe two or three other smaller ones in the geocomplex.
If you'd look to your work papers at page 7-16, does information on page 7-16 of the work papers relate to your discussion in answer 71?
Yes.
And the work papers say that this project would replace the 3 existing generators with 3 new generators?
Yes.
Did I understand you to say earlier that there's more than 3 being requested for replacement?
I was mistaken. It's 3.
Okay. In the rebuttal testimony, answer 75, it says that the existing generators are 6 to 17 years old. Can you tell me exactly how old these 3 are? Is one 6, one 17, and the other one somewhere in between?
No, I can't tell you exactly.
Are any of these existing generators currently not operational?
These generators are operational, but they are nearing the end of their functional life, and what we're at risk is that without replacing these generators, a major event could occur, a power outage, and we would not be able to power emergency functions at the general office complex.
Well, we know, do you know the age of any one of these 3 generators?
I don't know specifically.
Well, presumably one's 6 and one's 17, and one is somewhere in that range.
That's what I thought, but I'm not sure.
I'm just curious, though, are these the same power output generators? Each of the 3, are they in the general range of power capacity?
Yes. These 3 generators are the critical generators that would power up major portions of our general office complex.
What happened if you only replaced one of those? Do the 3 have to operate? Is there some kind of connection between the 3 that they all have to be replaced together?
It's in order to replace these generators, what we have to do is they're actually built into the building, and so major work has to be done in order to remove the generators and then put the generators in. So to answer your question, we could replace 1 or just 2 of them, but it's very inefficient as far as the project, because then when we would need to replace the other generators, we would have to do all that construction again.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Disco.
All right. When was this project first proposed?
We have been doing analyses on these generators for the past 3 years.
And has any work been done towards actual replacement of them?
Work as far as studying what kind of work would need to be done to replace them, what kind of facility project work. Some of that analysis has been done.
And when was that done?
I remember 2002, 2003.
And since 2002, 2003, nothing else has been done on this project?
That's correct.
If you go to the next page, 57-21, and your testimony relating to 77 Beale Street.
Yes.
There is I believe, a work paper 7-106 that I found relating to this project. Do you have that before you?
Yes.
Is there any other supporting documentation for this project with the application?
Not that I'm aware of.
According to the work paper at 7-106, this project will result in annual energy savings of approximately $100,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you know if those savings are included in PG&E's application?
They're not included.
Now, according to the work paper, in the previous paragraph, removing monitoring and control will reduce the need for site personnel and decrease response times to issues. Do you see that?
Which line item are you at, please?
There's one paragraph under justification, and the last sentence of that paragraph.
This is in page 7-106 of the work papers, Council.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Are you referring to a reduction in PG&E personnel?
It could be PG&E personnel or contracted personnel.
Or is any particular personnel targeted for reduction?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the exact lines.
There's the paragraph that has the title justification underlined.
Yes.
Right underneath that, there's one paragraph, and the last sentence of that first paragraph says remove.
Okay. We haven't factored in exactly what that would mean as far as personnel, whether it be a part-time reduction or full-time reduction.
Or whether it would be PG&E employees or contract employees?
That's correct.
Are any savings from a reduction in personnel included in this application?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. That's all I have.
I actually have one more question regarding the generators. Presumably, because they're backup generators, they haven't been used very much. And to me, an analogy might be a car, which one drives only a few hundred miles a year. And 17 years later, the car has not been driven a lot, so there's not a lot of wear and tear in the car, but there, of course, might be harder to find parts to maintain the car. Have these generators been used a lot?
Thank you. That's a very good question. The generators are started on a regular basis. They have not been used a lot. They're started on a regular basis, as to your point, as you would start up a car every now and then that's not used. Part of the problem with aging generators is, in fact, they're not used a lot. It's a little different issue. So you have problems with seals, different pieces of the equipment because it's not used, and seals, other parts of the equipment deteriorate over time. And so it's a different kind of aging process that occurs.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any redirect for this witness?
May I go off the record, Your Honor?
Off the record. Direct for the witness.
We do, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
Mr. Coleman, counsel for DRA took you through a series of questions about whether or not certain ADA issues were matters of legal compliance. You remember those questions?
Yes, I do.
Also, there were some questions about whether or not certain earthquake safety issues were legally required. Do you remember that question?
Yes, I do.
Should PG&E only do work to serve the public that's legally required, sir?
Absolutely not. I think that I don't think PG&E does do plans and constructs and projects and does work to make sure that we have the safest facilities possible. And so we do not just do work for legal reasons.
There were some questions about Gilroy and whether or not on page 57-18 and 57-19 of Exhibit 18, that project, you recall those questions?
Yes, I do.
Has the company purchased any land associated with this project?
Yes, we purchased land in Gilroy for future development of a service center there.
You were asked about litigation involving ADA matters. Do you remember that question?
Yes.
At the break, were you advised by one of your staff that in fact a Superior Court lawsuit has been filed against the company involving alleged violations? May I go off the record?
Off the record.
Yeah. You were asked about some litigation involving ADA matters. Were you advised by one of your staff at the break that a lawsuit has been filed alleging non-compliance with ADA?
That is correct.
Your Honor, why I said advised is in order to be forthright with the record. That's exactly what happened. We will confirm that, and I will make a statement of counsel. It's my understanding that such a lawsuit has been filed against the company. And if I'm incorrect, of course, I will correct the record by a statement of counsel.
Could you describe a little bit more about this lawsuit to the extent you know something about it? Off the record. Can counsel provide more information about that lawsuit?
Yes, Your Honor. I've been provided the following information, which I will confirm back at the office, that in October of 2005, a lawsuit in the Sacramento Superior Court was filed, alleging that several of our customer service offices and authorized neighborhood payment centers are not ADA compliant.
Thank you. Do you have more redirect for this witness?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any recross?
I have one question.
Please proceed.
Mr. Coleman, you said that some land had been purchased in Gilroy. Can you tell me when that purchase was made?
Approximately, I'm going to give you an approximate time frame.
Sure.
2003 to 2004.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any recross? I'm sorry, redirect.
May I go off the record for one moment?
Off the record.